One of the most hidden conversations of Dave Dombrowski's end of the season press conference was about a specific Phillies utility player and an injury that he battled mostly throughout a good portion of the 2025 season. After the season's done now, some things will be on the way for this player, and kind of an outlook for Otto Kemp, who dealt with some stuff that we'll get into this past season. But, from some quotes that Dombrowski said and just some vibes around the team, it seems like the Phillies might be pretty bullish on Otto Kemp and, want him to get some more playing time in the 2026 season. We're going to get into all of that today on the newest episode of Phillies Digest. Welcome back here to the channel. Still a week or so out from Phillies getting eliminated from the Dodgers. Still stings a little bit, but kind of watching this Dodgers series against the Brewers wrap up in 4 games, it's kind of hard to just not admit that the Dodgers are a unit. It's crazy. They're an unbelievable baseball team. But what we're here for today, Otto Kemp. Apparently, according to Dave Dombrowski, the club is bullish on Otto Kemp, who profiles as a bench player in the majors. The way that Dombrowski spoke, the Phillies view him as more than that. This is an article from Matt Gelb of The Athletic. So Otto Kemp finished with a 92 OPS plus, meaning he was 8% below league average, and isn't much of a defender. Officials see upside in the 26-year-old Kemp. One scenario well within the realm of possibility. The Phillies flip Alec Boehm, who has one more year of club control, and they hand the third base job to some combination of Kemp and Sosa to begin the season while waiting for Adam Miller to arrive sometime in May or June. There is important context required for Kemp's rookie season, and this is kind of where we get into things here. So Otto Kemp fractured his left kneecap on June 17th when he fouled off a pitch that struck him there, according to a team source. He chipped a piece of the bone. He continued to play. He'll have surgery this offseason to repair it. He will also undergo a minor surgery on his left shoulder to clean out some damage. And it feels like it kind of is maybe a little bit telling. I think Otto Kemp, when he came up, he was, a real big spark for us. Then he sort of cooled off, I would say, once he was up here for a little bit, went back down to AAA. Maybe wasn't playing every day, getting off of that, knee a little bit. And he came back in September and he was pretty effective. So the club is hoping for even better things from Otto Kemp in a potential 2026 season. And, he showed some flashes this year. He's not the perfect player. Like Gelb said, he's an all right defender. He's not really great anywhere. Probably his best defense is probably at second base, but obviously the Phillies have Bryson Stott. He's not a great third baseman. He's a manageable left fielder. But he has some pop and he's able to put the ball in the gap. And that's something you're looking for in this Phillies lineup. This is from On Patterson's Tim Kelly. Sort of just some quotes from Dombrowski and just a few words here from Tim. From Dombrowski said, I think Otto Kemp has a chance to be an everyday player. He has a chance to be an everyday player next year, Dombrowski complained. He has thump in his proclaimed, not complained. He has thump in his bat. That ball jumps off his bat. We really like him. We like his makeup. He can play a couple different spots, as we have seen. Where that would end up happening, would he play all over the place? That is also a possibility. But we really like him a great deal. Otto Kemp had some impressive moments during his first stint with the Phillies in 2025, including a 2-homer game at Yankee Stadium, but he was particularly effective after being recalled from AAA on September 8th, as he hit 4 home runs with 11 RBIs and an 856 OPS over 52 at-bats during the final month of the season. He was so good that he forced his way onto the postseason roster. And, kind of speaking of the roster, and I think this is where things start to get a little interesting for next year. I'm very under the weather right now, so if I sound like nasally and stuff like that, that is why. One of the biggest, I would say, locks is kind of the Phillies, infield in general going in the next season. There's a lot of room to improve the outfield, and I think they will do that. I don't expect Nick Castellanos to be back. I have a feeling there will be 2 outfielders in that outfield on opening day that maybe didn't play for the Phillies this year. But the biggest guy on this infielders list is really Alec Boehm, because Alec Boehm's probably the most tradable piece right now. That's up for a trade possibility. And Not saying the Phillies are like scrambling to trade him, but definitely a name that can be looked to be shipped. Only one more year left of control. Phillies obviously have Aiden Miller coming up in the ranks, and ideally Aiden Miller's in your infield in a couple years instead of Alec Bohm. If they were to trade Bohm, it wouldn't make a ton of sense to go out and sign some big free agent infielder, because then, the goal of next season, while to still stay competitive and try and win a World Series, is to get youth into this team. And if Aiden Miller continues to play how he played, last year down in the minors, the goal is maybe for the Phillies to have Aiden Miller play third base for them at some point next year. So, signing some big free agent wouldn't really make sense. And, if they did deal Bohm while they still had control and could still get something for him, I think a Kemp, a Sosa Kemp kind of mix of at third base until Aiden Miller's ready isn't the worst option. I don't think it's ideal, but it's not the worst option in the world. So I think that's definitely a possibility. And both Sosa and Kemp I thought had a good year. Edmundo Sosa obviously strictly against lefties, but this was Otto Kemp's combined stats between the MLB and AAA in 2025. 136 games, 481 at bats, 134 hits, 35 doubles, 24 homers, 95 RBIs. 48 walks, 151 Ks. He hit 279 with a 374 on base percentage and a 505 slugging percentage. And that is once again between the majors and the minors. I believe 5 of those home runs came up in the pros. But a good first year with the Phillies for Otto Kemp. And, from what Dave Dombrowski has said, there he is right there. From what Dave Dombrowski said at his end of the season press conference, from some people I've talked to down at the stadium, it just seems like this team really likes Otto Kemp. He can play, even if it's not elite defense, he can play a lot of different positions. He's a very versatile player. He can play third, he can play second, he could probably play short if he really needed to. He can play the corner outfields now, basically. He's a good bat to have. He offers some pop. He obviously showed it down in AAA. Obviously, not as much pop from being in a bench role with the Phillies, but showed some life of some pop up in the majors. This is a player the Phillies like, and potentially could be in line and towards the front of the line to get an increase of games and at bats next year for the Phillies. And I think probably the best scenario for Otto Kemp would be if Alec Bohm were to be traded, because I don't expect him to go sign a big third baseman. If they trade Bohm, I think they'll treat it more as a stopgap, have a Kemp Sosa type of thing, see what happens until Aiden Miller's ready. And if something happens with Aiden Miller, he's not ready, then they can maybe go find a third baseman at the trade deadline if they needed to. But, biggest news, obviously, though, once again, Otto Kemp is getting, I don't believe he got it yet, but will be getting surgery because he fractured his left kneecap on June 17th. He chipped a piece of the bone, and he'll also undergo a minor surgery on his left shoulder. But, this is kind of the time of the year now where we just start to wait for rumors. Nothing yet. Obviously, the World Series isn't over. If you guys, are watching this and you're just really Phillies fans, you don't watch any other baseball, do me a favor and go watch the ALCS. It's been absolutely incredible. Seattle Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays. It's been absolutely incredible baseball. And hopefully whoever gets to the World Series gives the Dodgers more of a fight than the Milwaukee Brewers did in the NLCS. This has been the newest episode of Phillies Digest. Once again, apologies for being under the weather, how I sound. I'm sick as a dog right now. But we pushed through for the Phils and for this channel. Once again, this is the newest episode of Phillies Digest. My name is Luke Arcaini, and I will see you guys next time.